So, pop quiz. If I asked you to remember your wedding vows, do you think you could remember? I know most of us will be able to remember certain parts of them, but I think there were certain things that we will leave out. The reason I asked that question is because I'm asking you to join me in this three-part series on the benefit of remembering your vows. And so please join me as we get started here on Husband, Father, Man. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Marriage Monday. I'm your host, Husband, Father, Man, and I'm glad you could tune in and hang out with me today as we just discussed three of the benefits of remembering your wedding vows. We get into marriage so many times to where we just start living life, and at the beginning everything is just so beautiful and wonderful, and this is our mindset coming in. But fast forward, maybe 3 or 4 years. Some people don't make it that long, but as you fast forward from the wedding day to wherever you are in your marriage, maybe 2 years out, 5 years out, and you've gotten into those points into your marriage to where somebody isn't holding up their end of the bargain. Things have changed to where you're not getting your way. She's done things that make you say, she has gotten on my last nerve. He has done things to make you say, I don't ever see why I married him to begin with. I mean, if we be honest, these are some of the things that we think and go through within our marriage, and that's okay. When you're learning to grow and live with someone else where your decisions affect them and their decisions affect you, then there are always bound to be some tension and different things going on. And so we're just going to kind of look at some of those things today. So I just want to kind of get you in that frame of mind of where you might be right now. Usually when I put together my marriage videos, I always tell people you need to sit down with your Bible, a pencil and paper, and your spouse. And the third one is non-negotiable, because I don't want it to where one of them is sitting down getting the message and then going back and telling another, hey, you need to watch the video. No, everybody needs to sit down and watch it together. But I know you may be at a point in your marriage right now where I don't want to sit down with her, or I can't even stand looking at him right now. Yeah, you might be at that place. But that's why I want to talk about the benefits of remembering your wedding vows today. Because I sat back and I thought about it. When we took our wedding vows, oh man, we said a lot of things, didn't we? We got up in front of everybody. I mean, we spared no expense. Her wedding dress was so beautiful, and we were just so decked out in our tux. And there are just so many different things. We had to have the decorations and all of our cousins on our mother and father side, to where we got 23 people in the wedding, and it's just so, I have to invite everybody all the way down to my kindergarten teacher. The world must know that today we are getting married, and it's a beautiful thing, and I love her, and he is the one for me, and the tears and all of this, and there's just so much that goes into that day. But once that is over, the lights are turned off, the tuxedo is back where it goes, the wedding dress is hung up in the closet, all of the bridesmaid and groomsmen and your kindergarten teacher, everyone has gone back to their daily lives. Now it's just you and her together for life. And that's what you got up and said in front of everybody. But all of a sudden, we kind of forgot the vows. We kind of forgot what we got up there and said before everyone and in front of God, what it was we were going to do with our spouse for the rest of our lives. We forgot all of that. We forgot about for better or for worse, and sickness and health. Your money is my money, and what's yours is mine, and all this. We coming together, and we forgot about all of that. We living in the moment. Why it is that every time you get paid, you want to say, "This is my money." But in the wedding vows, it says, "Your money is my money, and my money is your money." So this is a reality. One wants to move. One is saying we can't afford that right now. And so now the tension is mounting because one is saying, "Hey, you know what? I'll do it with or without you." That's not what the word says. I mean, your wedding vow says, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. So once again, you can't go off and get a house without your spouse. Or why is a house more important than your spouse? Or why is your money, keeping your money separate, more important than your spouse? So it's time for a reality check. Let's just start off with number one. And number one is, one benefit is remembering why we got married in the first place. Why did you get married? See, this is the thing. As I said, right now, in the present, you may be in a situation to where you can't get your spouse to sit down and watch a video such as this for you all to bring your hearts and minds together and say, "Hey, we have to come together and get this back on track." Or you may be sitting down watching this as a couple and still just kind of going through the motions, being like, "Yeah, I don't want to, it's like, whatever. I do this to shut her up. I do this to, so he can go on and get out my face about this." But what happens when you stop right there and go back to when you took your vows and think about why did you marry her? You're sitting here and you're so upset at her right now and some of her ways that maybe you didn't see before you all got married. Because once you get married, a lot of things change. Many times you didn't live together until you got married, and then it became a reality of everything coming together, being on one accord, and what that looks like. And sometimes, honestly, it's a shock to the system. And so the same with him. You didn't know that he wasn't going to step up to the plate and be the leader of the household. You didn't want that burden upon your shoulders. You wanted to be able to, you play your part, he play his part, and he be out front, and he provide and protect, and whatever that looks like with what it means to be the head of household. And so he's not that guy. And you're kind of wondering what happened here. That's not how it was when I married you. And so we get to those places. We're there now, but we have to go back to the beginning. So I just use myself as an example. Within our marriage, we've been married 16 years now, and it's been a lot of bumpy roads. There have been many times where I could not just honestly say we were going to make it. I didn't know. I've always hoped and prayed for the best, and I've always tried to put my best foot forward, and I always believed that she would do the same. But we're all human, and that's why we have to get back to the basics, get back to what it means to be married and what it means to follow God. And so I said to myself, as we got to different points within our marriage, and it's like, it just doesn't seem like this is going to work. It doesn't seem like we're going to get to that next level. What is life going to be like? Are we headed towards divorce? And so I remembered, I thought back. Number one, why did I marry her? Why did I marry her? Well, for me personally, I had become a Christian, and I knew for myself that I needed myself a wife. I knew that to be dedicated to Christ. I needed to be married so I could have my wife there with me, my bride, that I fulfill her needs, she fulfill my needs, we complete one another. I'm no longer alone. I can move forward with that other half of me in place. And so when I met her, we dated for a year, and then we decided that it was time. Where was this going? And we sat down and we had that conversation, and then we decided it's time to move forward and go ahead and get married. And so within that, for me, I felt that just the fact that she put up with me. I mean, we always try to blame the other one a lot of time and talk about how difficult they are to deal with and things like that. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying that I'm a difficult person or I run around being a difficult person, but what I am saying is that I have issues that step on her toes. And when within my issues, when they would step on her toes, she would stay here. She would let me know, ouch, you stepped on my toes, get off of my toes and get it together. But she stayed here. And so for me, the fact that we were kind of going back and forth and things would happen, and I would just be like, well, I guess she's gone. Next thing you know, I would get a phone call, or she would show up, or I would call her and she would answer, and things like that, to where I saw that we were on the same page. We were focused on one another. We wanted to be here. A decision was made. I liked the way that she carried herself, that she was focused on me. She was into me. She liked spending time with me and being around me. And so to me, that was a plus, because I was just like, hey, she likes being around me just as much as I like being around her. And so these are some of the things to where I saw her putting her best foot forward, and it encouraged me to do the same. I felt that the things we talked about as far as growing together and having a life together and children and all of those things, I just felt like, hey, that I think she would be a good mom. I think she would be a good wife. I think she's a good woman. And so I wanted to marry her because of all these different things that I felt. And, and so that's why I went forth. I felt I could share my dreams with her. I felt that she would help me achieve my dreams, and that I would do the same for her. And just by that mindset, that made me say, this is who I want to be with. And so within that, I have to go back and say, as we were going through our different storms and trials and tribulations throughout marriage, I would have to go back to that in the beginning. Instead of getting caught up in the moment with what is going on and us being at war with one another, I had to go back to the beginning and say, why am I here? Why am I here to begin with? And so by me looking back at why I married her and why we're here in marriage, it made me say, this is something worth fighting for, because this is my wife. This is the mother of my children. This is not just somebody else who came in and filled that spot. We came together, and our children are the product of us. I don't want another man raising my children, or another woman raising our children. I don't want that. And so by me going back and remembering why I married her, then it makes me say, I'm going to fight to keep this together. I know we're at war with each other, but then a lot of times it will make me say, hey, time out, time out. She has said to me, always would say to me over the years, I'm not your enemy. And you know how when we're into it, it feels like we are enemies, doesn't it? It does. But just that reality check makes you say, hey, you know what? We are at it with each other, but we're not enemies. So let's hit time out. Let's throw in the white flag. Let's sit down together and figure out how to work together. So it makes me say, I want to fight for my marriage because I remember why I'm with her to begin with and what we have together. So that's number one. So that's the end of part 1 to the video. Now it's homework time. So what I would like for you to do, I would like for you to make sure that the kids are in bed and you have a little time to spend together. And I would like for you to sit down with your spouse and just have a conversation and go back and discuss with them why you married them, why you were with them, and why you wanted to have this life together with them. And just so we don't go back and forth with all kind of foolishness on who's going to start, I lay it at the feet of the men. Let the men be gentlemen, and you go first, and you let your bride know why you married her. And once they are finished, ladies, I expect you to rise to the occasion as well. Don't have him spilling out his heart and then you turn around and just say a few things. I expect you all to be honest, put your pride and anger or whatever you may have going on aside to get back to why you married one another. And then after you finish with that, you know, give yourselves a big hug and a kiss and just maybe spend a little time together tonight. And prepare yourself for part 2, which will be coming soon. You will get an alert if you have subscribed and hit the notification button. So make sure you do that. And I will see you on part 2 of the benefits of remembering your wedding vows. You have yourself a great evening.